Everyone, again, thank you for being here. Starting in 2019, we are going to begin this class at 10 a.m. So starting in 2019, we're going to start the class at 10 a.m. Pacific time. So we will start that on Mondays at 10 o'clock in the morning beginning on January 1st, 2019. That's not the first class, but beginning the first week that we do the class. All right, let me just turn this off for a second. All right. Okay, guys, so if you want to volunteer to have a scan done, now is a good time to do that. I want to make some general comments. We have a client who, let me just make a few changes here. If you want to volunteer, go ahead and put your name and date of birth and what the issue is down in the chat area. So I want to talk to you about a few things here. Hang on one second. Let me just make this adjustment here. So if you want to volunteer, go ahead. We do have holiday sales going on. Those of you who've never been to this class before, this is Dr. Ariel Policano. I'm a real doctor. I've actually gone to Naturopathic Medical College in Portland, Oregon. Let's see. All right. And so I use my naturopathic knowledge to share with you information that can be helpful to you. And I also share my information about natural health with you. So many of you know that I talk a lot about a plant-based diet as part of that solution. And you guys, I'm going to be doing more classes in plant-based food plans in 2019. It is incredibly important. If you really just can't give up every bunch of meat in your world, then what's really important is to give up as much meat as you can. Go as plant-based as possible. Some people, if you're not sick and you're well, then you may not want to, give up all of the things that you enjoy, that you feel comfortable with. But if you're sick or if you have a proclivity towards heart disease, then that's something that you will really want to look into. The fact of the matter is that the rich Western diet does a significant amount of damage to the endothelium of the body. And that's happening to us all the time. And as we eat the rich Western diet of meat, dairy, and it happens to everyone, oil and so forth, fish, what is happening is that we're acquiring scars inside the endothelial lining. And these scars become repaired to some degree, and they act like sort of little pimples inside the endothelial lining. And if all goes well in your life, you don't, you just go along with life and everything is fine. But if you have a proclivity towards heart disease, it's possible that at some point those scars can rupture. And so the best thing you can do is to do everything in your power to avoid developing those scars. So if you consume olive oil, or if you consume regular vegetable oil, or if you consume hamburgers, or if you consume fish on a regular basis, you are increasing your risk. Everything is about, probability. And so if you want to reduce your risk as much as possible and do the least amount of damage to the endothelial lining, then the important thing to do is educate yourself about plant-based plant-based food plans, which I'll be giving more courses in 2019 because of the absolute urgency of this issue. And so I've been in healthcare for a really, really long time. And since then, I've been sharing with my relatives, which, the saying, you can't be a prophet in your own land. And of course, many of them not following anything that I had to say. And unfortunately, one of them is having to go for a procedure today called an angioplasty. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit about testing for heart disease with the Genius and what it can help you with and what it may not help you with. And actually, let's just go back to the Genius for a minute here. And then I'll tell you about some results from some of the testing that I was doing. So we'll test this gentleman that I was working on over the weekend. And because of the rich Western diet, and when I say the rich Western diet, what I mean is specifically consuming, as they say, anything that used to have a face, consuming any type of chicken, turkey, fish. People sometimes still get confused about what the actual meaning of a plant-based diet is. So it means no fish, no turkey, no chicken, not anything that was used to be alive, and also none of the dairy products, no eggs, no cheese, because these foods, again, it's not even an ethical concern. We could talk about the ethics of it. We could talk about a planetary concern, but this is just a health concern. And we know unequivocally that these foods damage the endothelial lining. Inside all of your vessels is a lining, and that lining is something that keeps you healthy. And you can do damage to the lining. And if you get these little pimples and scars, they can rupture. And that is what actually leads to a heart issue. So we're going to look at some of the heart panels today. And this is why I don't like to import sometimes other libraries. So what is going on here? Let's try this again. There we go. Okay, so we're going to look at the heart issues. So it's really the scars inside, and it's about reducing the amount of scars. So foods that would be on the menu for somebody who wanted to really protect themselves would be starch-based foods. Those are things like potatoes, rice, corn, sweet potatoes. If you're, you could even have some pasta, occasionally some bread, things like that, but you want to be careful depending on what your level of risk is. But the foods, if you think of traditional foods that were eaten all over the world, those are things like the different grains were consumed, and that was the majority of human health for a very long time. And then getting in lots and lots of vegetables. My food plan has become extremely simplified over time. I use an Instant Pot, and I use potatoes, sweet potatoes. I just make them in the Instant Pot in 15 minutes. I consume beets. I consume a few nuts and seeds. I consume a lot of veggie burgers. I consume a lot of greens like kale, broccoli, some of the sulfur-based vegetables like cauliflower in order to regulate hormones. And I consume a very, very large salad every day. And I consume a tremendous amount of the fermented foods. So not dairy-based fermented foods, but when I go shopping, I'll pick up maybe 5 or 6 jars of different types of sauerkrauts and fermented vegetables. And literally in a salad every single day, I'll have a large portion of that because your gut microbiome has a very strong correlation to your overall health. And so many of the things that you do can be rectified through having a good gut microbiome. It can help you to balance your hormones. It can help you to have a better immune system. It can help your digestion to be good. What helps your bowel movements to be larger is not just the fiber that you take in, but it's the amount of volume produced by the activity of the gut microbiome. So when you do have a large bowel movement, that is partially the churning of those microbes, in addition to the fiber and the food that you're consuming. So remember, Dr. Dennis Burkitt in the 70s, he talked about fiber health. He had been studying with people living an indigenous lifestyle and found that they had no colon cancer and wanted to find out what the correlation was. And he had a slide that was so revealing. He said that people, cultures and civilizations and villages and so forth that have large bowel movements have small hospitals, and civilizations and villages and cities that tend to have small bowel movements tend to have very big hospitals. And so it's a really great, we'll have to recreate that slide. But the reason, again, I'm talking about this is because a relative of mine today is having an angioplasty, and I'm sending him lots of light and appreciation for a successful procedure. However, let's really talk very candidly. This is a completely unnecessary procedure that never needed to happen. And this is, if anyone around you that you're helping thinks that they can take medications for a heart condition and that is going to make them better, they are absolutely fooling themselves. Unless you change your diet and the foods that are toxic in your diet, the foods that are poison are foods that are from animals: chicken, turkey, fish, beef, anything that had a face, any type of oil, including vegetable oil, any type of dairy product, including cheese. Some, of course, refined sugar can be damaging, but that's not the issue. It's the rich Western diet. And if you continue to eat these foods, they'll continue to damage the endothelial lining. And no matter how many medications you take, no matter how many blood thinners you take, no matter how many statins you take, these will continue to cause the progression of heart disease. There's just no, there's no way to slice it any other way. And any cardiologist, no matter if they went to Harvard or the most elite schools in the country or the world, they're just either lying, ignorant, or willfully ignorant. And you can absolutely guarantee that if you get on these medications and do not change your diet, you are on a conveyor belt down the road of their particular healthcare interventions, which eventually could lead to, depending on your lifestyle and your genetics, if you don't change your diet, this will inevitably happen to some degree. It will progress. What it results in is unknown. Once they can find blockages in your system, they will tell you you need a procedure. And if they tell you you need an angioplasty, you want to put up a caution sign and take as much time as you need to evaluate whether you need an angioplasty. The angioplasty is a procedure that goes inside the vessels and opens up where the blockage is and puts in a little mesh, a metallic mesh placement that will hold the vessel open, because when they did these in the past, they found that within a short time the vessels would close. Now, even though one of these procedures costs about $150,000 by the time you're done with the entire procedure, which takes the better part of an hour for the actual procedure itself, and it is the major moneymaker for most hospitals in this country, making 80% of their income from cardiovascular procedures, including angioplasty. You're rushed into this telling you that when you undo the blockage, it will make your life better. But interestingly enough, angioplasty has never, ever been proven to extend life expectancy. What it does is it opens the vessel, but that's not what causes a heart attack. What causes a heart attack is all of these scars that come from the rich Western diet on the lining. In order to reduce these scars, today, stop eating any meat, turkey, chicken, fish, oil. Just stop doing it. Embrace a diet of whole foods, including rice, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, and all types of vegetables and fruits, and a little bit of nuts and seeds, a little bit of avocado here and there. And guess what? Your body will begin to heal those scars, and you will breathe better, feel better, smell better, feel better, look better, lose weight, all of those things simply by making a simple change. So if anybody is listening to this isn't aware of that, I'll be giving more courses on this. You can also read the books called Preventing and Reversing Heart Disease by Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn. You can read the books of Dr. John McDougall. You can go on YouTube and you can watch all of those videos. You can read the works of Dr. Neil Bernard. You can read the works of Dr. Dean Ornish. You guys, this isn't like new and different information, but it's unfortunately and I have no idea why, I can only imagine, we are always met with a completely false supposedly opposite side of the view, where you can eat the ketogenic diet, you can eat the Atkins diet, you can eat the South Beach diet. You guys, these are toxic diets that will not improve your health overall. They may help you to lose weight, but what cost? At what price do you want to lose weight? I mean, are we willing to go to any lengths? I mean, will we eat, worms and dirt, and we'll just do anything to lose weight? So, the best way to lose weight is the way that helps you to be the most healthy. So, the reason I'm so passionate today is I've been in the health field for really over 2 decades, and I've been a naturopathic doctor since 2002. And I have been banging the drum of plant-based food plans for a very long time. And again, your family, has a more or less ability to listen to you. And I feel pretty certain that if this individual could have been coaxed or educated, not coaxed, but educated by their very intelligent physicians, that this individual would not be in the place that they are today, which is having to be frightened, afraid, and also being, unfortunately, sold a bill of goods, being sold a very expensive procedure covered by insurance that now they're told is going to make their life better. And yet there's no evidence to that, and there never has been any evidence to that. But the money involved, when you're talking about $150,000 a procedure, it's just, there's no way that any human being can pass that up. And it's really, really sad, you guys. Since I graduated 2002, it's almost 2019. So in 17 years of being a naturopathic doctor, I've been licensed every single year. I've become more disillusioned with the medical field. And I know that probably you'd think, well, why wasn't I disillusioned from the beginning? I mean, you want to give it a chance, right? These are smart people who are unfortunately in a very messed up paradigm. And I realize more and more, just in really up close and personal in my face, how corrupt and unfortunate this system is. And when we look at problems in the world, we want to ask ourselves, what can I do about it? What can I do for myself? What can I do for my family? I probably won't be able to solve the problem. What can I do that'll make my life better? So really focus on personal change instead of, yes, those people are doing what they're doing. I'm going to do what I need to do. I'm going to make my life better. I'm going to make my diet better. And I'm going to use biofeedback, because biofeedback is going to give you the best lens into what's going on with yourself and your family and the people around you. And so use biofeedback in this creative way to get a check on what's going on. Now, one thing, I don't know if Kelly is on today. Kelly and I were talking about this particular case of my family member over the weekend, and she immediately said, is there something going on with him clenching? And this is something that I've written into the heart anatomy panels because they're so important, which is a valve issue due to jaw misalignment. And if you have a TMJ specialist around you, or someone you can go see, you might just want to go see them and ask them to evaluate your jaw. Particularly if you think you clench, or a massage therapist can sometimes do it as well. Or when you have a massage, have them work on it. If you go to see a craniosacral therapist, have them work on the temporomandibular joint, which is that joint that when you open and close your mouth, there's a soft joint in between the bones that's helping to cushion that. And when you clench, you can wear away at the temporomandibular joint and cause all types of misalignments. And this misalignment has a very far-reaching effect on the rest of the body. Imagine that. The body is actually interconnected. So this even can result in an issue in the valves of the heart. But you guys, the major issue with the valves misfiring is also related to the rich Western diet. So again, from a probability perspective, if you take a step back and you're like, I'm a smart guy or a smart gal, what am I going to do to decrease my chances of this happening, is go plant-based. There's a lot of evidence that even some of the people in the blue zones who smoke don't get cancer because their diet is so low in fat and cholesterol. And so the smoke, the carcinogens that would normally come from the smoke, don't affect them in the same way, whereas it becomes like a wildfire in the presence of animal foods, in the presence of cholesterol, in the presence of fat. So what we can see here is we see valve issue due to jaw misalignment, pulmonary vein, sinoatrial node, sort of the aortic valve. We see up here, we see superior vena cava and the mitral valve. So there's some issue going on with these that we want to reduce the particular disharmony with these particular parts of the heart anatomy. So that's what biofeedback gives us, that instant view of that. Then we can go to heart health assessment. Remember, none of this is a diagnosis. Not all of it may be true, but I have found that a lot of it applies. So this is niacin, which would open the circulation, a vitamin E deficiency, and for this I would recommend not synthetic vitamin E, but look online for the tocotrienols that come from rice bran. Methylation defect, and that is what I suspected. This is one of my family members, and being of Italian descent, there's a huge chance that MTHFR is in play. The MTHFR gene makes it difficult to convert folic acid to folate. And so many people, as a result, are deficient in this, and as a result will have high levels of homocysteine, which also increase the risk of heart disease. But when I talk about supplements these days, you guys, I'm really careful to be very clear that there is one intervention that is beyond supplements, and that is following a plant-based food plan. You can't follow your regular food plan and take methylfolate and expect your whole body to heal from heart disease. That is silly. And it goes the same way with the medications. You can't do the same thing you've always been doing and take a statin and take a blood pressure lowering medication and expect that your heart disease is going to stop in its progression. Glycosylation is sort of mild, but this has to do with too many refined sugars. And in talking to this gentleman's wife, she's like, I keep telling him not to have the bread and the butter. Those are like, it's ridiculous. It's like a diabetic, like eating a bowl of sugar. It's just ridiculous to be consuming those foods when your heart condition is so fragile. But, they're comfort foods, and we want to have the things that we can enjoy. But if we have too many processed carbohydrates, it will affect the blood sugar. So that may be what's going on there. Then you do see the valve issue coming up again and again, right? So I think this gentleman does have atrial fibrillation. So we know, in fact, there is a valve issue, and we can send energy. That seems to be something that we see. It's just an interesting thing that we can see the match between a physical issue and the energetic issue, the issue being revealed in the energetic field on biofeedback. We see some inflammation, calcifications. This is the issue. It's the calcifications. It's the scarring that is so risky. These scars can be quiescent for a very long time. You can have previous scars. They can begin to clear and heal themselves on the right food plan. But these calcifications are what is definitely part of what increases your risk of heart attack, which means death, possibly from heart disease. That's what everybody's afraid. You can have these blockages and your body can compensate for a very long time. It does mean you have less perfusion to the brain and around the body, but that's not what takes somebody out. It is the breaking off, unfortunately, of those scars or pimples that is the true cause of the heart attack. And angioplasty done when there's a heart attack can be helpful. If it's done at any other time, there's never been any evidence that it extends life. So please caution and research well for anybody around you who may be considering that procedure. Toxicity exposure, magnesium deficiency. There's a huge body of evidence that blood pressure and other heart conditions can be minimized through taking magnesium on a daily basis. Again, you need to do that in conjunction with the right food plan, not eating the foods that are poisonous. This may be actually part of the issue. C-reactive protein acts as an inflammatory substance in the body, so that could be part of the issue as well, increasing the amount of inflammation. And let's see if there's anything else here that we can look at. We're going to look at the oil on point as well. Then I'm going to take some of your comments, and then we'll get on to another case soon. So let's look at some of the heart frequencies. These are like energetic commands that we give to the energy field. Clean and clear the arteries, that makes sense. All vessels and capillaries and cells achieve perfect perfusion. Electrical aspects of the heart function well. So there's also huge body of evidence that getting the right minerals, including magnesium, does help heart health, and that would be part of it as well. Blood pressure normalizing at a zero is the most compressed energy that you can have. So probably this individual is under a lot of stress today, and probably the blood pressure being high. You know, it's another really important discussion for us to have about whether blood pressure should be treated and should be treated as aggressively as it is. While it's no great thing, it's no healthy thing to have high blood pressure, should we force the body to lower blood pressure? You guys, everything that you force in the body has a compensatory mechanism. So if you take a medication and you force the blood pressure to be lower, what do you think the body is trying to do the whole time? The body is trying to reverse that, because the reason it was high in the first place is that it sensed that it needed to be high for a reason, for some physiological reason. Maybe it's because there are blockages and the body is trying to get more blood to the brain. And so maybe it's increasing blood pressure so you can get proper perfusion to your brain. The body is incredibly smart. You guys, if you haven't watched the incredible guests that we had, and I want to thank each and every one of them on our summit, please go to Facebook, go to Energy Medicine Life on Facebook, Energy Medicine Life on Facebook, and watch the 3 days of the summit interviews. We had so many wise people giving their experience of biofeedback, and we talked about many subjects, and one subject that I touched on was from my conversation with Garnett Dupuis. He wasn't on, but I was talking about a conversation I had with him recently, and he really reminded me that human beings are self-organizing systems. The whole energy of your being is taking you down the river towards health. I mean, it's like you have to work against that sort of that force really, really hard in order to get sick, because every part of your body wants to heal itself. But when you take medications, you cut that natural ability of the body to bring you towards towards that place of being self-organized, of self-limiting, being self-healing, finding that ability. And really the whole body of healing is dedicated to removing those obstacles. You know, I'm always reminded of Chinese medicine and how gentle it is, and how the whole philosophy of Chinese medicine is to remove the little blocks that block people from healing, and then everything rushes in, all the forces rush in and basically support you. And you know, the Chinese, not the traditional, but the classical Chinese practitioners would have to dim the lights of their home if they had somebody who didn't heal. It was so beyond shameful for them if somebody they worked on did not have a full and complete healing, that they would dim their porch light and let their house go dark because they had so much shame about not being able to help their client. That's a stark, you know, I don't think any of these doctors are really healing or helping anyone today. So when you take a blood pressure medication, you're falsely suppressing a needed activity in your body. And you need to find the root cause of why your body is trying to do that. In fact, they have some medical literature talking about the old individuals. They consider people not just old, but old, anybody who's over the age of 95. And the age of 85. Anybody who's over the age of 85 in medical literature is considered to be the quote unquote old. And the old are supposed to have higher blood pressure, something like at least 180. That's a crazy number, 180 in the systolic, because by the time the person gets to be 85, they have so much blockage in their circulatory system that they cannot get perfusion to their brain. And so the blood pressure must be elevated in order for them to get healthy circulation to their brain. So what does that say about all of the elderly people we force to have 130 over 70 or 110 over 70? They're not getting proper perfusion to their cardiovascular system, to their brain. And so that could result in an early demise or in dementia. Let's look at some of the solutions coming up for this gentleman. We've got some garlic. Again, the niacin, you can see the consistency there. Cactus is wonderful to use for anybody with a valve issue. Something that we really need to explore more in an upcoming heart class, because cactus is a traditional herb used in the first part of the last century in the 20s and 30s. And it's really, really good. It should be used really much, much more for valve issues rather than the stupid blood thinning drugs that they're using. Alpha lipoic acid that's probably one of the supplements that everybody here should consider, read about, or maybe just run the energy of alpha lipoic acid for yourself daily, because it is such an important antioxidant and it is so protective of that endothelium that I've been speaking about. Should you take alpha lipoic acid and still eat the rich Western diet? No, you guys, it's the food. If you don't change the food, then no supplement can overcome what you're doing. It can only assist when you're following a good lifestyle, a food plan that supports the health of the endothelium. We're not making any judgments about whether it's being cruel to animals or affecting the planet. We're just strictly saying objectively, what can I do to make sure that my vessels stay pristine for a lifetime? Because my vessels deliver oxygen and nutrition to all of my cells. They make sure that I don't have any brain issues, dementia, Alzheimer's. So I want to keep those conduits, I want to keep those roadways super, super open. So I'm willing to do anything. I would eat cardboard if I had to. But guess what? I can eat delicious things like sweet potatoes, rice, quinoa, millet, beets, cauliflower, salad, walnuts, avocados, and just enjoy all of the wonderful foods that nature has to offer, eaten in a pure, unprocessed form. It's another thing that's had a huge impact on my own personal health, you guys, is just as many things that I get that does not come in a package, the most unprocessed foods that I can get. And I really got that information, that download, even having tons of knowledge, I got that download from Chef AJ. And so I have to tip my hat to her. Unprocessed, unprocessed. How many foods do you get that don't have an ingredient label? Eat more of the unprocessed foods. Get yourself an Instant Pot for Christmas and put your sweet potatoes in there and eat your sweet potatoes all day long. The more starch that you eat, the better you will be, because these natural starches that are unprocessed provide fiber, minerals, nutrition, and they make you feel full. The number one reason people fear going on a plant-based diet is they feel like they won't be full, they won't have enough food. If you get enough potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, millet, quinoa in your system, your tummy will feel full from all the fiber, and then you just add on to that the kale and cauliflower and salads and apples and bananas and orange and whatever it is that you want that just is not derived from animals, and enjoy. I mean, there's a cornucopia of amazing foods out there for you to enjoy, and your body will tremendously thank you for that. Now, another thing that my relative said to me was, I said, oh my God, you're having this procedure, like, please, like, you have to do some changes here. And his response was, well, my cholesterol is only 130. And I want to just take my head and just, knock it against the wall, because thinking that you can eat the same foods that you're eating, but be assisted by a statin, by a cholesterol lowering medication, is insanity. It is insanity on steroids, you guys. You cannot think that your cholesterol lowering medication is doing all the work. You must change the food, because the damage to the vessels continues. And you can see this right here. Here's the health heart. I mean, we need biofeedback, you guys. Just share biofeedback with everybody around you, and let's make 2019 a biofeedback revolution, because this will save lives, if for no other reason, because it raises the level of awareness. Look at the two things. I mean, I don't even have his voice print today. I'm just using his name and date of birth. Vessel damage, 7/28. Could it be more clear? And dietary cause, coming from a dietary cause. I mean, it blows my mind every time, you guys, that this could be so accurate and so spot on. So daily exercise, that's also important, but it is not as important as the food, you guys. That is important, but it's not as important as the food. Boy, niacin keeps coming up again and again because niacin opens up the vessels. And that is another thing, is that anybody who's trying to work on this heart stuff should really embrace greens per the work of Dr. Esselstyn. He has them eat kale, collards, Swiss, the chard and everything 3 times a day, because the greens really heal the endothelial lining and they open it up. They provide that nitric oxide opening. Don't rely on supplements, you guys. Don't think that supplements are the whole solution. A large part of my naturopathic, practice was really that learning about supplements. It was like, we called it like the pill walk. It was all about what supplements could do, what coenzyme Q10 would, do, and so on and so, on and on and on. But it really is the food, and it's a tremendous disservice that my school has done in not really clearly communicating the proper food plan. My school in Portland, Oregon, did not properly communicate the power of the food. Now, I want to also add in the oil on point, because that was tremendous. I was able to do work on my loved one, my relative, for quite a bit of time yesterday, doing this drill down method with the oil on point. It was really interesting, the different things that it would reveal told the emotional story of the person. And not only are the oils on point very relevant, but I'm creating a form for all of you that will help you to document your results with using oil on point. And as you see the different emotions that come up each minute you do a balancing, the emotion will change. And you see, it tells the whole story, and then you see a transformation of the emotional state, which is really profound. Now, in terms of the numbers, I would get at least 10 on the top and 10 on the bottom. So 10 of the highest, you could even go 20, and then at least 10 on the bottom, because you have 250 items here. You're going to get a lot of highs and a lot of lows. So, and what we're going to do is we're going to allow the progressive insights in combination with the physical aspects that we have incorporated to do the thinking for us. And we're going to look at the top 1, the top 2, even possibly the top 3 items that come up in progressive insights. Another thing I noticed is how consistently some of the things would come up at the top, in terms of the oil on point. So let's look at this, and I'm going to be using Carolyn Mine's book at page 62. Page 62 of Carolyn Mine's book, and we see the first one is basal on the first rib point. So basal on the first rib point is manipulation. And I had one of those fire and brimstone talks with this relative, and just said, I'm really apologize that I've gone on and I've been so polite all of these years, and I've not been more emphatic and not said you must make these changes in order to heal your body. And also told him about what the angioplasty was, that it may not even be indicated because it doesn't reach the goal that has been asserted by the doctors. An angioplasty opens the circulation in that particular vessel, but that's probably not what will cause the fatal incident. You have to heal the scars and pimples all over the circulation by correcting the food. All right, so I think some of you wanted to volunteer, and somebody sent me, is anybody on here who sent me something in advance? There was someone who's checking out the Genius who sent me something in advance, and with the, oh, hey, Bonnie, and hey, Brenda from Southern California. So good to have you guys here. Somebody sent me a notification early. So if you're on here and you had sent me something and you wanted me to look at what's going on with you, please put it in the chat area or shoot me an email right now and we'll work on you. Hey, Elle, I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you made it to the class. It's good to have you here. Zoha is here. Zoha, warm welcome and appreciation to you. Penelope is here. Big hugs and big love, Penelope. Really appreciate you so much. Lori is joining us from, I want to say Montana. That's not right, right? Is it? Karen is here. Karen H is here, one of our newest Genius users. Just got it during the summit. So glad that you're here and so glad you joined us for the summit. Jeff is joining us from the East Coast. Welcome, everyone. I hope the weather isn't too bad there. So you saw that this actually improved. And what I'm doing each time, you guys, even after just 1 minute, is I'm also looking at the aura, even after 1 minute of change, and I'm observing the aura. And I'm learning a tremendous amount. Yesterday, we worked a lot on this gentleman's jaw. There was so much locked up energy and perhaps emotion at the jaw. That was a large part of what I did yesterday. I'll see if I can pull up some of those pictures. So let's see what happens. I find this interesting, like the red and the blue reminds me of the parts of the venous and the pulmonary system where you have the reds and the blues. Okay, so this is interesting. This indicates a lot of sort of liver stuff going on. And as I don't know if Karen is here, the other Karen from Canada is here. She always reminds us that the digestive aspect, just the health of the digestion, plays a big part in heart disease as well. And when did this heart issue start for this individual? Very closely after the Thanksgiving holiday, right? Wow, this is interesting, right? This basal on the first rib comes up again, manipulation, perhaps feeling manipulated by the system. That's fascinating. That still comes up way at the top, you guys. Then we've got release on the vertex 7th chakra point. So let's go ahead and look at this. Release on the 7th chakra is rebellion. And so you have to ask if maybe this individual is starting to get the message, right? That's like kind of startling to me, sort of gives me chills. Now, whether you include other things is totally up to you. This is a judgment call, and I feel like these things that I'm seeing here with the coenzyme Q10, which unfortunately statin drugs completely deplete coenzyme Q10, which is incredibly important for the mitochondria. Where are the majority of the mitochondria? In the heart. You guys, if these medical companies don't start with the end in mind of how to destroy lives, then they do a pretty good job just coincidentally. Who would ever come up with a heart drug that depletes coenzyme Q10, one of the most important nutrients for the heart, and then not try to encourage people to take that supplement or take that nutrient back? Let's do these two for just 1 minute. Now, Kelly's initial take on this is just to do 1 point for 1 minute. I am more particular, like I like to do a few things. If I see 2 really relevant oil on points, I'll do them both for 1 minute. Then I'll go back and see how the aura is changing. I want to say something really, really important here. You cannot do anything wrong. Fortunately, you all are not doing angioplasties. So you have a lot more latitude. You can run these frequencies. The innate intelligence of the person will take the frequencies that they like and leave the rest. Okay? They will take the frequencies they like and leave the rest. You can do no wrong. So with that relaxation in mind and being more, this is only going to help, you can open up your intuition, just imagining your 7th chakra, opening up, open the intuition and let the ideas come to you. Spirit's right there with you, helping you to uplift yourself and uplift others. So let the ideas come to you. If you feel you want to include something and not something else, there's no problem in including that. So let's go again now and let's look at the aura and let's see how it's changing. So this is very liver, very working on the digestion. Maybe it's that anger of rebellion, the anger of feeling manipulated that's coming through. I find the most startling part, this is a good change. I find the most startling part of the oils on point is how they tell an accurate inner landscape story. And I find that just to be just absolutely amazing. So it's another form, we've used the flower essence in this way. It's another way to use it. And we're actually going to be getting some education from the woman herself, from Carolyn Mine, coming up in 2019. I'm hoping to do a Facebook Live with her, and we'll get more of her insight about how she came up with these wonderful concepts. So all vessels and capillaries achieve perfect perfusion. That's from my heart panels. That's an energetic command that we want to send to the energy field in order to achieve the outcome. Coenzyme Q10, some type of toxicity exposure. This could be from food. This could be from, he had 3 titanium implants done at the same time. Not something I would recommend, you guys. If you're going to get an implant, please ask your dentist or find a dentist that will use zirconium. I'm also be concerned about getting a stent because of the metals. I want you to deeply think about the concept of metals and the human body. These do not provide the optimal electrical flow within your system. You want to free yourself of any metals. When somebody once said this to me, that part of human evolution is separating itself from being intermingled with all of the different metals. I couldn't eat any food with silverware I really still can't. And it just had such a profound impact on me. I use bamboo or other types of utensils, chopsticks and so forth. So meditate a little bit about metals. Should we have metals in the body? So if it's necessary, you guys, then you deal with it. Your body deals with it. I know a guy who got a titanium implant in his knee. They told him he would never run again. He runs marathons. So, the body's capable of a lot, but just meditate a little bit. When you can avoid metals in your system, then please take the steps to do so. Instead of titanium, zirconium in the system. Don't get any metal fillings. You all know that. Okay, so sandalwood on the emotional integration point. Codependency. So that's really interesting. My loved one's been married for decades, which I'm grateful. What a successful marriage. But interesting that codependency comes up. Maybe it's with someone else or maybe it's within himself, but interesting, right? So, and then abundance on the laryngeal point. Scarcity. Interesting, scarcity. So I don't know what that would mean for that person, but isn't that interesting that it comes up? So many of these things, I found them to be absolutely spot on, bang on, really, really accurate. So let's go ahead and get this for a minute and then we'll check the aura. The visual that we're seeing, interesting, reminds me of the toroidal field. And it's kind of fascinating that we've gotten that twice. We haven't really ever talked about the visual algorithm, but what you see here is sort of the visual expression of the different frequencies that are being played. And this reminds me a little bit of the toroid, that donut that is about the energy of the heart. So very, very interesting. Welcome to Hattie. Hattie is here. It was so good to have you, Hattie. And let's see, Marie from France is here. Good to have you. And Barbara is one of our newest users. Barbara, big hugs to you. She got the subscription this week, and thank you for being part of our class today. It's so good to have you, and it was great to have you on the summit. Okay. And Caroline is here today. Okay, so you guys, we do have holiday specials for those of you who are telling people around you. Remember, the website is awakentotalhealth.com. Send people there. They can download the trial, and we do have holiday specials on the website. So there's a happy holiday special right there on the Awaken Total Health website. There's also a chat function if you want to chat with me or if anybody wants to get assistance. Pretty much available during the day to help people on the chat. And interesting, I'm going to run this just for one more minute because isn't that interesting? It only went to 25% and we didn't get that notification that they're responding well. So I find that kind of fascinating. All right, let's go ahead and just take a look at this. Remember, my website is awakentotalhealth.com. Myself and the developer, we work as a team, but when you do go through me, then I get credit. I don't own the Genius in any way. I just provide the training, support. Anybody wants to purchase the Genius through me, that really supports my work, and so I tremendously appreciate it. We've got all different packages here available, and I am going to have some panels and classes also up this week for holiday specials. I'll be sending out an email with my weekly newsletter. Anybody have a burning desire to be worked on, please send me a message so I can put you at the front of the class for next week. We're going to be doing lots of exciting events in 2019, additional classes and webinars, and lots of fun stuff coming up, you guys. So thank you so much for being, part of our community. And we're going to be having the new version of the Genius in 2019 as well. But 2019 will see a price increase. So please, anyone who's been thinking about getting the Genius, let them know all the packages will increase in price. The base price is increasing. So go out and tell people this is the best time to get your Genius, to get your package going. And this is that neutral thing you guys have been telling you about. Remember, so we sort of took a lot into the field in that beautiful purple color, and then there was sort of like this neutral piece. And so people can go up and down, their peaks and valleys in harmonizing. And so you'll see them sort of like a place of really getting like sort of this assimilation of the higher frequencies, and then they go back in, they dive back into sort of the grit of it all in order to work through some of these physical things. Systole and diastole in perfect rhythm. Your heart, when it contracts, it goes through these different cycles. It actually, the valves of the heart, well, this is a great picture for this. The valves of the heart open and they fill this chamber with blood for a period of time. And as the pressure builds, it causes the valves of your heart, you have 4 valves in your heart, to close. And then pressure builds, pressure builds, pressure builds. And then that pressure overwhelms the valves and it forces blood through, for example, into the aorta, the major aorta. It's not the abdominal aorta, the coronary artery, and then forces that blood to go away from the heart and towards the rest of the body. So that the heart goes, bump, bump. The bump, bump that you're thinking about when you hear that, it actually goes bump, bump, and then it rests. And the bump, bump is actually the sound of the valves closing, interestingly enough. And so it goes through a pressure building and a relaxation portion, and this is what's called systole and diastole. And they have to be in perfect rhythm for the heart to function well. And then you see that cactus again, the cactus wanting to come in and be the main thing that helps the heart. That helps the heart in the valve situation. I wish we could give these types of, to everybody who has a heart rhythm issue or has a heart valve issue, instead of the toxic drugs that are being presented. And you guys, once people get on these drugs, it's impossible for them to get off of these medications. I'm going to actually do the niacin 2 to open up the circulation. Once somebody's on a statin drug, you're not going to see them come off the statin drug. There's actually called a rebound effect. And when people just stop taking their statin drugs because of the compensatory mechanisms of the body, the cholesterol will spike and they'll get a massive spiking in their cholesterol numbers. And this has happened to me when I've been in practice, and I had to call a medical doctor, and she says, "Oh, don't you know? This is why and she told me, these are her exact words, you guys. She said, "Don't you know that in the medical community, once on a statin, always on a statin." That's the saying, once on a statin, always on a statin. You can't take them off because they'll have this reverse effect of coming off, which is the spike, the compensation, the rebounding. So they don't take them off. And you can't, once you have somebody with a valve issue, if you try to get them taking off their blood thinner, I mean, all holy hell will break off with their cardiologist. It's really sad. There's so many implications of taking a blood thinner. I said to my uncle, "Can you eat more greens?" This my uncle is a loved one. I said, "Can you eat more greens?" And he said, "I can't eat more greens because I'm on this blood thinner." And, it's so, so sad. So one thing to think about with any type of medication, you guys, is that just in general, I want you to meditate a little bit and think about, what is the energy signature of a medication? And what is the energy signature of a plant? And what is the frequency that's being entrained by a medication into the body? What is the frequency signature of a plant that's being entrained? Because everything is frequency, and biofeedback gives us that wonderful awareness. So it's interesting that basil on the first rib point has emerged here. Again, manipulation. You just have to wonder what that's about, because it's extraordinary that it keeps rise out of about 40 frequencies that we put in of oil on point. It's absolutely amazing that it keeps rising to the top here. And then this is transformation on the chi point. Let's see what we've got here. Transformation on the chi point. And so I'm just looking these up. I don't know them by heart or anything. I'm just learning along with you. There's a lot in here. So it's interesting. It's got 2 different meanings defined by Carolyn. So transformation on the chi point, we've got limitation and we've got stagnation. Limitation and stagnation. It's absolutely, you guys test yourselves with oil on point today. If you don't have the panel, you can go to my website and you can pick it up in the Happy Holiday section of the website. Let's just go ahead and look at that. And from now until the end of the year, if you get the panel, we're going to send you a free copy of Carolyn's book. So if you get it from now until the end of the year, we'll send you a free copy of Carolyn's book. I think a lot of people who got it before you guys already had Carolyn's book anyway. So but if you get it now until the end of the year, we'll actually just go ahead and send you out a copy of Carolyn's book. So if you haven't gotten the Young Living on Point, you may want to get that and test yourself with it. It's absolutely amazing how it tells the whole story. And we used it during the summit as well. So if you haven't seen the summit, please go to Energy Medicine Life on Facebook. It's a new group where we're going to be exploring lots of energy technologies in 2019, not just the Genius. We'll be talking about just educating you about frequency in general. You can go here and just type in Energy Medicine Life and all of the different, I'm going to move this out of the way in a second. So this is the Energy Medicine Life. It's an open group. We'll be doing a lot of seminars about just about frequency in general and other things like PEMF. So our summit is here posted in the Energy Medicine Life. Go ahead and just join that, and you can see all of the different summit interviews that we did last week in case you missed them. And thank you for everybody who tuned in and was a part of those. We had incredible speakers and great information. So share the holiday specials with people, get the oil on point if you haven't gotten it yet. Let's do one last view here, just one more, you guys, and let's look at the aura, and I just want to do one last drill down. People often ask, do I need hardware with the Genius when I get my Genius? The hardware that I really recommend is you just need a really good set of headphones, whether it's wireless, wired, buds, over the ear is good if you have a biofeedback practice. That way everybody can use it. So what's happened here is we've actually moved into a deeper place. So there's a lot of darkness, a lot of gray clouds up here. All we're doing is we've drilled through the surface, and we're just going to some levels of depth. And you'll see this up and down experience as you work on people, especially people with chronic issues. So it's interesting that Sarah comes up. Sarah on the cellular memory point. That's, you know, about going deep as some type of abuse. So that could be from deep in the past, and it's just coming, coming to the surface, for whatever reason, but in a good way, it's actually getting out. Now you can't, it's like you can't ignore that frequency at the bottom, you guys. If you see it, you know your eyes are gonna be drawn to it, and you have to like go and see what it is. Relieve it on the heartstrings point. Heartstrings being, how could you have a more direct metaphor? And so, yeah, it's trauma. It's trauma. So what's coming up here, you could see that dark at the top of the aura is peeling the onion, going through the superficial layers, and now we're getting to the good stuff, getting to that, the woundedness, the abuse, the trauma starting to emerge and be released. But what a wonderful way to be, released. You can work on a loved one, as I've had permission, it's okay to work on a loved one, and you can work on your loved ones when they are in some type of situation, when they are thousands of miles away. You can actually do something, and whether you're working on yourself or other people, you can see how startlingly accurate this information is, and it's very, very healing, especially when we bring it into their conscious awareness as they go through the unwinding process. But even if you can't tell it to them directly, or if it's too much for them to hear, they're still benefiting from it. They're still a part of their higher aspects that are really getting the information. If they're open to it, they're assimilating it. Okay, so let me just see if there are any final questions for today. And when making your own panels, what do you recommend as the number of frequencies in each panel to get the optimal scanning result? Oh, I recommend at least 15. 15 is a good number, Sherry. Yeah, that's a good question. I've found when the minute isn't rectified, combining it with the next point will rectify. I love it, Diana. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's a great idea. Let's do one last look at the aura and answer any remaining questions. The summit was amazing. Thanks so much for your dedication. Give us the opportunity to learn and share. And thank you to all the guests and people who participated. Wasn't it so cool? Like people had to say in our community are so smart. Betty Lou says, is it important that these plant-based foods are organic? It's not as important that they're organic as they're plant-based. And I know that's probably surprising to hear that. But I'm going to work on this gentleman a little bit after the class, but that's a pretty good neutral place to go to. Could use a little bit more. I probably would use about 5 minutes on the 528 frequency. Miracles, connection with the heart is really on the menu today. So for him, all I would do is I would just go back here. I would scan the solfeggios, which are actually being drawn to the person's energy field today. And let's go ahead and see where 528 is. 528 is only here. It's not really being called out for, but I would still use it anyway, and I might use this one. It's interesting. It's kind of the harmonic of the other one with the reverse numbers. You can see often the harmonics of each other, right? And then I'd probably do 285. So these would be a nice trinity to do. And then I would do about 5 minutes of harmonizing just on that. I'm going to do that off air, as they say. So I'll do that for him and like that. So you can always be doing something, which is really important in, when you feel, especially when the hospital seems so inept and medical community seems so inept. So how much does the organic question? I would recommend that my patient eat plant-based whole foods, and I would give not one whit of concern whether they're organic or not, at least initially, because it's more important the food than the organic. However, that said, if the person couldn't afford organic, I would go to the Dirty Dozen at the Environmental Working Group, go to ewg.org and go to the Dirty Dozen. It's a free handout. And I would avoid the foods that are known to have the most amount of toxic residue. For example, strawberries. For example, I think celery was another one. Those foods are known to have just be filled with so much pesticide residue. Whereas foods that tend to have really good coatings to them, good coverings like avocado and mango, they consistently show the least amount of pesticide residue. So these are foods that if they're expensive, you could buy them non-organic and you can create your budget this way. But don't get me wrong, it's the food. The most important aspect is not, it's getting the food right, whether it's organic or not. How much does the quality of digestion to assimilate the nutrients need on a plant-based diet? Eventually, the diet itself may change that. You're not going to go wrong at all. The body will figure it out. Your digestion will massively improve on a plant-based diet because the fats and cholesterol really affect the gallbladder in the regular Western diet, and you're not getting the type of good bile flow that you need and so on and so forth. So you really don't have to worry. If anybody needs personal coaching to transform their food plan, please come to me. We'll have more classes, but I'd be more than happy to guide you through. It just takes a couple of sessions, you guys. The biggest thing I need to get you set up on is an Instant Pot, because once you start, if you can put your sweet potatoes in an Instant Pot and hit one button, not microwaving them, but come back from the Instant Pot and the sweet potatoes are all done, you can eat sweet potatoes at lunch, you can eat sweet potatoes at dinner, and then you already have your food prepared. That's half the battle for people. You can put short grain brown rice in the Instant Pot and it'll be done in 18 minutes, and you have rice for the rest of the day. And if you think of people of Asian descent, you know, Chinese or Japanese, like they have rice cookers in their home because the rice is such an important part of their food plan. They're eating rice all day, every day. Just go to any, you know, traditionally Asian family, you're going to find that they've invested a huge amount of money in the rice cooker. Those rice cookers can be up to $1,000, but it's a workhorse. It's every single day. And what do we know about Japanese or Chinese or Asian people on just sort of generally and traditionally is they're slender, right? They're slender, they're thin. This is what happens when you eat starches that are unprocessed foods. All right, you guys, I want to wish you a very, very wonderful day today and a wonderful week. We will be back next week. So during the holidays, we're here. So come and hang out. And I'm sending you much, much love, appreciation, and a good energy for your day and your week. And thank you, Claire. Thank you so much for being part of our summit. Okay, everyone, take care and be well. Bye-bye for now.